The moment the dressing room door swung open, I knew the day wasn't going to stay peaceful. "Harper, hold this." My Aunt Denise shoved something into my hand so fast, I nearly dropped it. I looked down. A bouquet, if you could call it that. The petals were wilted, some brown, one fully crushed against the plastic wrap, like someone stepped on it. The stems were bent in opposite directions. It looked like it had been rescued from a dumpster that morning. Before I could even react, Denise leaned close, lips barely moving. "That's more your level. Don't expect anything better." It should have hurt, but instead, something inside me snapped into a quiet, laser-sharp focus. I smiled. Not a fake smile. A dangerous smile, the kind people underestimate until it's too late. "Thanks," I said calmly, lifting the dead bouquet like it was a trophy. Really thoughtful. Her eyes narrowed. She wasn't expecting calmness. She wanted me flustered, embarrassed, small, like how she'd always tried to keep me. "You should be grateful you're even getting married today," she murmured. "A girl with your background doesn't usually end up on a stage. Don't oversell yourself." I held her stare, my grip tightening around the stems. Background. That was her favorite word for me. The kid from divorced parents. The niece who worked part-time jobs. The girl who chose a small apartment instead of staying with family. The one who didn't rely on anyone, which somehow made me ungrateful. She still didn't know the truth. Nobody in that room knew. Not my cousins. Not the relatives whispering behind their champagne glasses. Not even my mom, who meant well but never once stood up to Denise. And definitely not Denise, the woman who thought she had me all figured out. 10 minutes. That's all I needed. 10 minutes until I would step onto that stage and change every opinion in this building. Someone knocked on the door. "Bridal lineup in 2 minutes." My bridesmaids, Sierra and Chloe, hurried in. They froze the moment they saw the bouquet in my hands. "Harper, what is that?" Sierra asked. Before I could answer, Denise cut in with a sugary voice for everyone but me. "A little gift. Something humble for a humble bride." Chloe frowned. "Where's the real bouquet?" "The one you ordered." Another sharp smile from me. "Don't worry about it. Because, honestly, I didn't. Not today." I set the wilted bouquet aside for a moment, picked up my clutch, and checked my phone. A text from my fiancé, Ryan, lit up my screen. "Ryan, you ready, Harp? Big moment coming." And yes, I saw the setup on stage. "They're not ready." My heart steadied. He knew. He helped me set this up. He'd supported every late night, every meeting, every choice. I typed back. "Me. Ready. Let's do this." The coordinator poked her head inside. "We're moving. Let's line up." Everyone shuffled toward the hallway. My mom caught my arm briefly. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," she whispered. "Don't let anyone ruin this day." I squeezed her hand. "I won't." But she still glanced nervously at Denise like a reflex she couldn't break. As we walked out, Denise blocked my path one last time, eyeing the bouquet like she expected me to carry it down the aisle. "Humble brides hold humble flowers," she said softly. "Don't embarrass yourself trying to be something you're not." I picked it up again slowly. Not because she told me to, but because she expected this moment to define me. Instead, it was about to expose her. "I'll carry it," I said. "Thanks again." She smirked, thinking she'd won something. And that made what was coming even sweeter. We reached the entry doors. The music inside swelled. Guests murmured. 100 faces waited on the other side. I could feel the tension buzzing in the air, but it wasn't fear. It was anticipation. Because 10 minutes from now, they would learn who I actually was. Not the quiet girl from a messy family. Not the niece who should stay in her lane. Not the one who gets leftovers. 10 minutes from now, they would learn exactly why an entire startup board voted me as CEO 3 months ago. A promotion nobody in my family took seriously because tech sounds like play money. A promotion whose announcement video would play on that massive LED screen the moment I stepped on the stage. My fiancé would say a short intro. Lights would dim. Cameras would turn. Then the screen would flash. Introducing Harper Lane, founder and CEO, Lane Dynamics. Valued at $42 million. And the woman who gave me dead flowers would be sitting right in the front row. The coordinator placed a hand on my back. Harper, doors open in 10 seconds. Deep breath. I didn't need to breathe. I was ready. Ryan waited at the other end of the aisle, eyes locked on mine, smiling with that soft look he only saved for me. Behind him, on the stage, a covered LED screen quietly hummed, armed, cued, and ready to detonate my aunt's entire worldview. The coordinator counted down. 3, 2, 1. The giant ballroom doors opened. Lights spilled into the hallway. Everyone turned. Gasps filled the room. Not because of the dead bouquet, but because of me. The bride, walking with a confidence no one expected, had high, eyes forward. And Denise? She froze. Because she knew something was wrong. She just didn't know what yet. She would find out soon. Exactly 10 minutes from now. And that was the moment I'd been waiting for. The moment I reached the end of the aisle, Ryan stepped forward, took my hand, and whispered so only I could hear. "You're about to own this room." That one sentence steadied everything inside me. The ceremony moved fast. Vows, rings, applause, but all I could focus on was the countdown in my head. 7 minutes left. 6. When the officiant finally announced, presenting Mr. and Mrs. Carter. The guests erupted, cameras flashed, and people rushed forward to hug us. But the family table? Dead silent. My Aunt Denise stared at me like something wasn't adding up. My calmness confused her. My smile unnerved her. And when she glanced at the bouquet of wilted flowers still resting on the table behind me, she smirked, thinking the humiliation was stuck to me. She had no idea she should have been panicking. "Harper," she called sweetly, waving me over. "A word." Ryan squeezed my waist.
"Go."
"You'll want a front row seat for whatever she's planning." I walked over, my dress trailing behind me like a moving spotlight. Denise crossed her arms the moment I stopped in front of her. "You walked with confidence," she said suspiciously. "A bit dramatic for someone like you." "Someone like me?" I echoed, raising a brow.
She leaned in.
"Harper, you're not a star. Don't start acting like one." For minutes left. I smiled. "You sure?" Her face twitched, and for the first time, I saw it. Insecurity. The thing she hid in snide comments and fake superiority. The thing that would explode when the truth hit. The DJ's voice boomed across the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special moment from the bride and groom before dinner." The lights dimmed. Denise frowned. "What's this?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Ryan took the mic on stage, looking impossibly calm. "If you know Harper," he began, "you know she's the most hardworking, brilliant woman I've ever met. And today, she wanted to share something she's kept quiet out of humility. But I think it's time the world knows." People murmured. Chairs shifted. A camera zoomed in. My aunt's expression tightened. "Don't tell me you're trying to do some inspirational speech," she hissed. "Keep things normal, Harper." Normal? I almost laughed. 3 minutes left. Ryan continued. "Before our first dance, we want to show you all a short video." The LED screen behind him flickered alive. A loading bar. A logo. Not just any logo, my company's logo. Lane Dynamics. The room went still. My aunt blinked like the screen had slapped her. What is that?" she whispered. I shrugged casually. "Just my workplace." Her jaw tightened. "That's not a workplace logo. That's a tech corporation?" I offered. Her lips parted. She didn't speak. She couldn't. 2 minutes left. The screen changed again. A slide appeared. Lane Dynamics. Current valuation, $42 million. Gasp shot across the room like electricity. My mom covered her mouth. My cousins stood from their seats. Guests whispered, hands pressed to their chests. But Denise? She sank back into her chair like gravity doubled around her. Her eyes darted between the screen and me, panic spreading fast. Then the final slide appeared. Founder and CEO, Harper Lane Carter. The room erupted in stunned silence. People froze mid-breath. Phones dropped. My aunt just stared at me, her entire face draining of certainty. 1 minute left. I stepped toward her slowly, gracefully. Everything she said I would never be. Denise, I said softly, this is why the bouquet didn't bother me. She swallowed hard. You lied to me. No, I corrected. You assumed. And then, the spotlight swung toward the center of the stage where Ryan held out his hand, smiling at me like I just rewrote the universe. The DJ announced, "Please welcome your CEO bride to the stage." And I walked forward, leaving Denise in silence behind me. The moment my heels touched the stage, the ballroom erupted into whispers sharp enough to cut glass. People who barely looked at me all my life were suddenly sitting straighter, eyes wide, jaws dropped. Phones raised. Guests elbowed each other like they were witnessing history. But none of them mattered. Only one pair of eyes mattered. My Aunt Denise's. She looked like someone pulled the floor out from under her. She sat frozen in her seat, hands gripping the tablecloth as if it could anchor her to a reality she understood. One where I stayed small, where she stayed on top. Not today. Ryan reached for my hand. I took it, stepping into the spotlight that was finally mine. As we celebrate our wedding, Ryan announced, I wanted everyone to know exactly who Harper is. Not the quiet girl some of you underestimated, but a woman who built her own empire. Every word landed like a punch on Denise's pride. The screen behind us shifted again, behind-the-scenes clips of my company. Me leading strategy meetings. Me presenting to investors. Me shaking hands with board members. Me touring the new headquarters. A soft wave of applause rose from the guests, growing louder with each clip.
But my aunt?
She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. My cousin Lacey leaned toward her. Aunt Denise, did you know she was the CEO? The whisper reached me perfectly. No, Denise hissed.
She works at a desk.
She told me she works at a desk. I turned toward her and spoke into the mic. I said I work in tech. You're the one who decided that meant not important. A ripple of shock went through the crowd. The DJ lowered the music just enough for the tension to thicken. Denise stood suddenly, pointing a trembling finger at me. You hid this. You made a fool out of me. I smiled, calm and sharp as a blade.
No, Denise.
You did that all by yourself.
People gasped.
Phones went up instantly. Not in a scandalous way, but in pure disbelief. Yet everything stayed within respectful, safe lines. No shouting. No confrontation. Just the painful truth out in the open. Ryan stepped closer to me, protective but proud. And now, he said, I'd like to invite my wife, yes, my brilliant CEO wife, to say a few words. The spotlight swung fully onto me. I let the silence settle before speaking. I never cared about titles, I began. I cared about building something meaningful. Something that could help people. Something that could change lives. And I worked quietly because I wanted to succeed without applause. I scanned the room, cousins, distant relatives, old family friends, all listening like they'd never really heard my voice before. But some people, I added with a pointed look at Denise, mistake kindness for weakness. They think if you don't brag about your achievements, you must not have any. Denise flinched. So today, I continued, I want to thank every person who doubted me. You pushed me harder than any challenge ever could. The entire room broke into applause again. Loud, genuine, overwhelming. Even my mom wiped away tears. I held up a hand, signaling the last piece of the reveal. And to make it official, I said, nodding to the DJ, I'd like to present something special. The lights shifted. Music kicked up. The screen changed one last time. A live aerial shot appeared, a camera drone over a massive, brand new building with my company's logo etched across the front. Underneath, opening next month, Carter Innovation Center in my name. The crowd exploded. Ryan leaned toward me, whispering, You ready for the best part? I nodded. This wasn't revenge through anger. This was revenge through success. And it wasn't done yet. The ballroom surged with applause as the drone footage played, showcasing the massive innovation center bearing my name. The cheers hit like waves, rolling through the room, lifting everything, except one person. My Aunt Denise. She sat stiff in her chair, stunned, her earlier smugness gone like it never existed. She kept blinking hard, as if the screen might suddenly switch back to the wilted bouquet she thought defined me. It wouldn't. Ryan squeezed my hand. "Ready," he murmured. "More than ready." We stepped off the stage and walked toward the crowd as the DJ transitioned into upbeat music. Guests surrounded us instantly, offering hugs, shaking hands, congratulating me with more warmth than they'd ever shown. "You built that?" one uncle asked, eyes wide. "I've never seen anything like it," another admitted. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in months hugged me tightly, whispering how proud they were. But I only had one person left to face. Denise stood slowly when I approached her table. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just stripped of the power she'd always assumed she had over me. "Harper," she said, voice shaky, "you should have told us." "Told you what?" I asked calmly. "That I worked hard? That I built something meaningful? That I'm more than the box you put me in?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For once, Denise had no script, no sharp remarks, no superiority. Just silence. I gently placed the wilted bouquet on the table between us. Not as an insult, as a reminder. "This," I said, tapping the petals lightly, "is what you thought I deserved. And I didn't argue with you. I just kept building my life." Her eyes glistened. Maybe embarrassment, maybe regret. "I didn't mean to." "You did." I cut in softly. "And that's okay. Because I don't need your approval. I never did." The air between us shifted. Not cruel, not vengeful, just honest. She swallowed. "If I had known, you shouldn't treat people kindly only when you know what they're capable of," I replied. "Treat them kindly, because you don't know." For the first time in my life, she lowered her gaze. Quiet, humbled, not destroyed, just forced to see the truth.
And that was enough for me.
When I turned away, Ryan immediately took my hand. "That," he whispered, "was legendary." "I wasn't trying to destroy her," I said. "I know. You didn't need to." The truth handled it. We walked back toward the center of the ballroom as our wedding coordinator approached, beaming. "It's time for your first dance," she said. Ryan led me to the dance floor just as the lights softened and the music slowed. The guests formed a circle around us, and he pulled me into his arms, grounding me in a way that made the rest of the world fall quiet. "You were unbelievable today," he murmured. "I just wanted the truth out. Not for them." I looked up at him. "But for me." He kissed my forehead gently. "You deserve to shine. And I'm proud of you, every second." As we swayed, cameras flashed, guests smiled, and the feeling in my chest finally settled into peace. Not the fragile kind. The unshakable kind that comes when you decide who you are, and no one gets to rewrite it. Halfway through the dance, the crowd started chanting, "CEO Bride, CEO Bride." I laughed against Ryan's shoulder, overwhelmed but grateful. When the song ended, he lifted my hand and spun me once, holding me close afterward. "So, Mrs. Carter," he said with a grin, "how does it feel to shock an entire wedding?" I smirked. "Perfect." "And your aunt?" he asked. "Lesson learned," I said simply. No need to push anything further. The DJ announced the start of dinner, guests drifted happily toward the buffet, and the night moved into celebration mode. Laughter filled the room, music played, and for the first time that day, everything felt exactly right. My mom hugged me tightly, whispering, "I'm so proud of you, Harper. I always knew you were meant for more." And when Ryan pulled me into another kiss, surrounded by people who finally saw me for who I was, the truth settled in. Not only did I get my happy ending, I wrote it myself.